He's right. It does send for cost. He's right. It does send for cost. Ben, read the card. Don't scare me like that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's your boy Logan JYA, and I'm joined by my friend Angel, who ended up topping with an asterisk, top 16 at the regional. But this man did a phenomenal job with our favorite deck, Drytron, here in our year of our Lord 2024, tail end of 2024. New support in all of its glory. So, Angel, my man, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. What was your final record after the tournament this weekend?
My final record was 6-2 at the regional.
6-2, all right. And you mentioned to me offline that there was one of those L's that should have definitely been a dub given some situational things. And we're going to talk about that at the tail end of the video, so be sure to stick around if you want to hear about that. But, my brother, are there any shout-outs you want to give before we take a look at your pretty unique build of Drytron?
Yeah, I have 3 shout-outs to give. I have the people at Everything Games, which is my hometown locals in Illinois, and then the people at The Hobby, as you know. And then my boy Chris, who said if I didn't give him a shout-out, he'd come for me. He didn't do anything with the list. He just wanted it.
All right, my brother. Well, shout out and cheers to all those kind gentlemen, including you, Chris. Now, without further ado, my friend, let's dive in, start things off with the main deck.
Of course. So I'm playing a pretty standard lineup. I'm just going to start with the rituals and then go from there. The main aim of this deck is we're not doing any more locks. I don't believe in Chaos Max Lock. I don't believe in Herald, either Perfection or Ultimateness. We're just running Big Dad out here.
Big Dad energy. Okay, and we got Little Dad too.
We got Big Dad and Little Dad. These are your main end board pieces. Usually you're ending on Big Dad with mainland combo. If you've seen Logan's video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But also, we also run the other dad, also for the effect of the Big Dad, but in addition, he's just a good end board piece on occasion against certain decks. And then a little bit unconventional, we are running a triple Ben 10 package with no Natasha, even though we are on a new 2 build. I find that the triple Ben 10 comes up a lot, and you don't necessarily need to summon them. Just having the tribute fodder is good enough. And then the other sort of ritual that I'm running, or the package that I'm running, is the Magic Key package in the main. So we are running 42 to compensate for the Betos Buster and unlocking. This card overperformed, unlocking overperformed this.
What were you negating with
tournament. I was negating either, if we're going into game 3, I'm negating, board breakers like Forbidden Droplet, Dark Ruler No More. If I'm going first, I'm trying to negate if I suspect I have a board breaker, I'm gonna do that. But more than that, I'm looking to negate engine pieces early in the combo, despite it being a counter trap that you want to hold, because it does have that bonus effect of changing attribute, which is super broken in this format. If you have ever read a single Fiendsmith card or Promethean Princess, you know exactly just how broken unlocking is in this scenario.
That is such a good point, and a very slept-on point at that. Now, mind you, you do have the downside. So, listen, Beto Buster is great, right? It still operates within the new 2 restrictions, and you make the great point of the bonus effect of unlocking, which absolutely obliterates things like Fiendsmith, and even in some situations, some flyer decks may find themselves struggling as well. They can't get into Princess. But, we're also introducing bricks into the formula. So I have to ask before we move on, did you find yourself bricking on the trap cards at all, or was it mostly well-behaved staying in deck?
It was pretty well-behaved. I drew it twice. The only bad part about drawing it, I felt in those scenarios, because I still had combo, aside from unlocking being in hand, was that it basically forces you to go into Betos Buster, even if it might be suboptimal, because you don't want that dead card in your hand, I think. I would much rather just do the line, get the Betos Buster, and sort of prey on that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on.
Next, we're running the one standard Diviner of the Herald.
So we're doing triple Ben 10 and only one Diviner.
Yeah, it's just the one Diviner. We use it for Herald and Entis. But that also has another purpose, which is why we're only running one, which you'll see in the side deck, hopefully.
Fair enough.
So I'll put that to the side. We got the double Gamma. We got the double Delta.
Sure.
I'm running only 2 ofs at the current moment, because I don't think you need more than that. Gamma, as always, super good for link plays. That I will get into later, but he's also just good at making another new bit of Fafnir, which will get you that negate on your opponent's turn. If you, let's say, only end with Betos Buster, you still have the ability to activate new bit of Fafnir because it is a machine ritual, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
And then I'm assuming 3 and 3 on the good guys?
Yeah, yeah, 3 and 3 on the good guys. You have triple alpha, of course, the triple zeta,
Is double new 2 or triple?
Oh, it's triple new 2. We're running triple
okay.
new 2.
Okay.
This is like maybe a little bit controversial. Sometimes you don't want to see 3 new 2. I like this ratio a lot. This is pretty standard. I don't think I need to go explaining why we need triple alpha zeta. But triple new 2 I liked a lot because there were a lot of hands where maybe I had just a gamma and a new 2. And that sort of allowed me to perform combos more than I probably should have in those types of scenarios. In addition, I think new 2 is just really good into hand traps, playing around them. There are a lot of times where, I would have basically one poopy name and then one new 2, and that would just let me play the game. And then the search effect is also good. It's good for getting out an imperm, so that way they don't end up hitting the good imperm target, which is Fafnir. So that your opponent sort of has to gamble on whether it hit the new 2 or whether it hit the Fafnir. And then we are running the 1 Ursatron brick. Don't know how I feel about it, just because a lot of the times...
Is it an essential combo piece for you, or is it just an extender?
It usually comes up as an extender. I think I searched it all of 2 times for new 2. I don't think it's that good in the deck, but I don't think it's bad enough to cut, if that makes sense. It feels like an essential evil. I don't like seeing it because when I do see it, I need to either, usually because of this card exactly, I'm bricking on it, but it is nice sometimes because it is a Drytron name. You can pitch it for a Drytron card, and that does get you somewhere.
I will agree with that, but seeing that you mentioned it's not an essential combo piece, I know we're not going to see no Secret Village, but that's okay. I saw we got Beto Buster rocking and rolling as well. Let's keep on going with the spells.
We got the one of Medionis Drytron, CR. Shoutouts to Logan.
You're welcome. That was his going away present.
I was running 2 because I was scared of Runic, and I felt that the 3rd Ritual Summon was really good. But especially in this version of the deck, you don't really ever have the way to do 3 Ritual Summons nowadays because you have the 5k attack threshold you're trying to meet. Yeah. So 1 is just fine.
Good.
We have the standard triple Cyber Emergency, the triple Drytron Nova, best card in the deck by far. 1 Foolish Burial. This card has become more broken because of the existence of Perulia. There was a game against a UL player where he Perulia'd me. I had the 1 of Foolish, and because of that, I was just getting Drytrons into the graveyard and did not need to summon them out of my hand. This plays around the hand chummy pretty well because you just pitch your Drytron names. It does hurt sometimes because you maybe have a ritual in hand you want to get in the grave, but keeping them off of draws is really good. In my last game of the entire night, I got Ash Moltarmead. I didn't end up giving him a single draw just because of the existence of Foolish and having Zeta in hand already because we're broken.
Yeah, fair. All right, let's keep rocking.
1 Terraforming, and this is something that I got flamed for in the Drytron Discord a little bit.
Wow, they love flaming. But
they do love flaming. We run the 1 Terraforming in addition to the triple Fafnir.
So you're going with the logic of all access to the 1-card combos as much as possible?
Exactly. I think the 1-card combo is broken. Obviously, you're going to start with that. But also, Fafnir is just really good as a field spell. A lot of people sleep on the fact that it's hidden effects of you can't negate the ritual spell, and especially the losing 1,000 or 1 level per 1,000 attack came in handy about like 3 different times, surprisingly, because I was facing White Forest.
So that's quite good. They need to have the certain levels to do their synchros, and you're keeping them off it. That's pretty smart. I like it.
Yeah, so it came up a lot. I will say I did sort of brick on Fafnir. I ended up
4 copies of it.
Exactly. I ended up with a hand of Fafnir, Terra, and Nova, and I did get punished there, but I was able to just Fuko pass, and honestly, I think that's fine. Because on the follow-up, you just have Fafnir again. You have full combo again. You have more resources now, even. And spoilers, I'm running Fuko. I think Fuko's better than Lyralist. But we'll get to that.
It's such a tough one. I have so much trouble making that darn decision, man. You already know how I feel about it. It's tough.
Me too. We got the 1 of Talents. I don't think you need more than 1.
Are you maining Thrust?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Let's keep going.
1 of Called By. I like these both as going first tools, and then also going second board breakers. Called by the Grave. You completely cook Phantom with Called by the Grave if they end on a weaker board, and it's just super, super powerful because it's a quick play. We have the triple Book of Eclipse. This is a card that I don't think anyone who I faced was really prepared to see, surprisingly. there were a lot of games where I was going second, and I would open up a Book of Eclipse and praise the Lord, because this card is just absurd. First of all, a lot of people will ash it, understandably, because they want to preserve their board. But the thing is, now you've overloaded the ash. They can either choose to have their board, or they can ash the book. And a lot of people will ash the book. And when they do that, now your Alpha, your Fafnir, your Nova, those are all insulated now against an ash, which feels super, super, super good. Also, quick play spell.
Of course, yeah, so that's phenomenal, and I've been hearing great things about Eclipse going into the next format, and frankly, thinking about the lack of Omni-Negates that are on current end boards, this does make a fair amount of sense. But you do leave yourself blind and open to some Link monsters being a little bit of trouble. Honestly, I really do like the idea of getting into the Eclipse early. Now, mind you, let me ask you this. What kind of end boards did you find the Eclipse being most effective against?
I found it, so I want to be clear about something before I talk about that. It's that having only one breaker is not enough. You need to draw your breakers in conjunction with one another. That being said, I faced 4 YuGiOh at the regional, 3 of whom I think were very competent with the deck. And
one guy who didn't have it together?
Yeah, he wasn't bad at it, but he definitely was nervous because he was on the X2 bracket, I think. But one thing I will say is that Eclipse is really powerful into YuGiOh boards paired with Droplet. And I'll get into why that is right now. So as I've been pointing out throughout that they're quick play spells, and you might be like, well, that doesn't really matter. You know, it's cool that you can use them, but dirty interactions that you can do are somehow baiting out their Phantom, activating Call By, activating Book of Eclipse somehow, and then activating Droplet. Because what will happen is, if they want to preserve the Ash in their hand, they are going to Desiree the Book of Eclipse, because they also want to preserve the Varudris. What you can do in response is with Book, activate Droplet, send for cost, they lose the Desiree target, and now you also have a negate for the Varudris, assuming that you open a monster, because they can't respond to the Droplet.
Right.
So it really, really hard counters that. Again, you're sort of running 8 quote-unquote board breakers, because maybe Talents and Called By you might not consider a board breaker.
I think you have to in this situation, given the current state of the meta. So I understand it. Double duty, going first and second.
Yeah. So you definitely want to see these in conjunction with each other. If you don't, it's super tough. You can try to play through it, but it doesn't work as well. Another thing I really liked and emphasized in deck building was I'm not playing Dark Ruler no more in the main, and I'm not playing evenly in the main. I want cards that are good going first and going second. Book of Eclipse, also just Book of Moon. There was definitely a lot of games where people were trying to imperm on my Fafnir correctly, or Mu Beta Fafnir, and I Eclipse, and it flips face down, and I can just keep playing and doing my combos.
Smart. I dig this. I'm not going to say I'm sold yet, but you're in the process of selling me on this. The Book of Eclipse might be a good move. Let's keep rocking.
Just one more comment on Book of Eclipse. It's not a once per turn. That is absurd, because there was a game where I double Book of Eclipse and then dropleted for 2, just to make sure that the book resolved. It was really funny.
I do have one more question before we move on. How are you so talented at being able to see two board breakers at a time, only playing 8 of them?
That is going for that is me going into game 3. Into game 3, we have siding patterns to ensure better probability.
Fair enough, brother. I like it. I really like it. You're rocking all these questions so far. Let's move on to the extra. So
first, we have the standard package
for your one of Diviner, which I do want to loop back around to. Do you feel confident in your fairy ratios doing triple Ben 10 and only 1 Diviner, or would you think that maybe 2 and 2 might be a little bit more appropriate? I'm gonna be honest, taking a look at your list right now, full inventory, I really think I like what you're doing. I'm really digging the build, for a pure Drytron list, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with triple Ben 10 1 Diviner. Can you try and sell me on why you think that's right?
I wanted to sort of save this for the side deck discussion. Can we table that? I have a thing.
All right. We'll table it. You got me.
So Entis is good. Herald is good. We all know that at this point. 1 of Malong.
Slow down. What and why?
All right. Now I'm gonna just bring it out. We play the 2 of Alti Slayer.
Okay.
Alti Slayer, also probably one of the most broken cards this format. I was sleeping on Alti Slayer for a while. I thought it was pretty much cooked and bad. But what I failed to recognize was, first of all, not a hard once per turn. And second of all, your opponent can't respond to it with monster effects. What we use this card for is Phantom of YuGiOh. In the full YuGiOh combo, you activate this on the Phantom of YuGiOh. They will likely Desiree it, and you might be like, well, why are they going to Desiree it? It's only taken out a Phantom, you know? Yeah. The thing is, they need to preserve their Phantom because they need a YuGiOh on board to keep their Nightmare Pain alive. So when they try to negate it, though, the problem is you send for cost the Entis. So what happens is you activate Ultimate Slayer, assuming it's your only board breaker. On the Phantom, they attempt to negate with Desiree, but you've already sent the Entis. Now Entis can go ahead and bait out the Phantom again, or you can just try targeting the Verudris and see if they have their helmets on and just forgot that day, you know? But it's super, super good against YuGiOh, and the Malong is super, super good against White Forest. A lot of the time they will end on a Cosmic Blazar. When they do that, usually Blazar is super difficult to out because it just screws off for the turn and comes back in the end phase every time. But because they cannot respond, so long as you don't chain after they maybe have a trap, it is outed and gone.
It's pretty smart. Nah, you're... Okay, I'm digging it. I get what you're saying. The Ultimate Slayer seems like a very strong choice, and obviously we've got every flavor of the week in the extra deck to deal with potential problematic monsters. I want to move on for now. Let's keep on going.
Yep. We have the one FA Dawn Dragster. We're not doing any of the Ancient Fairy stuff. I don't like running the Spellcasters. I think the Spellcasters are all bad. If there was a good Spellcaster, I think it makes sense, but there's just not a good one. So I prefer the single Spell Trap Negate. It's also better by itself. There are a lot of games where I ended on a Dad and then FA Dawn Dragster because the Diviner was in play and I had an extra new 2 to spare.
Okay, makes sense.
One of Kiki, Foucault. I like it better. First, because you can't out it unless you have a Kaiju, exactly. So it's going to be on the board no matter what. Also against YuGiOh, and this is something that is really prevalent on the list. I made this deck to beat YuGiOh, and it worked every time. So I think I'm on to something, maybe, I hope.
Let's talk about Foucault here for a second. You believe this to be the optimal choice. We just had Ben on the horn not too long ago, and he said that the Leerlusk is the right way to go. I have been so back and forth on this one, testing out both things, trying to figure out what works best. Leerlusk, you get the guaranteed no damage, it works around things like Underworld Goddess, and you can get in those direct swings. Foucault doesn't lose to Imperm, doesn't lose to Droplets, completely unaffected, and pretty good insurance policy. Angel, tell me why you landed on Foucault.
I landed on Foucault because of its stat line, and I also landed on Foucault because you can't out him unless you have a Kaiju. I think that's super, super powerful. You might be like, why does the stat line matter? One thing that I did a couple of times was I would go against a YuGiOh player, and they would droll me game 1. It happened, I think, twice. And I'd Foucault pass. Activate and draw, and then they do their full combo, and they pass. One thing that helped me out a lot was putting Foucault to attack. Foucault attacking into Phantom and attack. Now you might be like, well, doesn't Foucault die? Well, little known ruling, monsters who attack 0 into 0, nothing happens. So you're not taking damage on the Phantom, you're not taking damage on the Pain, and you now have an XYZ monster that battled. So what you do is you go into Downer, and usually at this point, people get pretty antsy, and they see a good 2-for-1, because you have Drytrons in Grave, you have a Downer that isn't a Zeus yet. They might go into Rage's Soul and link into SP. Alternatively, if they just let it happen, you now have a Zeus. You can just chain Zeus and you bait out an interaction like that. So that's why I landed on Foucault here. There were times, I think there was one game where I had just held the Book of Eclipse somehow, and I had ended on a Foucault. On the next turn, this is into a game 3 scenario, I drew into the Droplet. And I have Book of Eclipse Foucault, activate Book of Eclipse, they attempt to negate, Droplet, send Eclipse, send Foucault. And now they can't respond with monsters without me having to waste a Drytron name in hand or a Ritual in hand that I need there for, We run the 2 Mu Beta Fafnir.
2 is enough?
2 is enough. I miss the 3rd sometimes, not all the time. 2 is enough most of the time. Usually if you're going into a grind game, I don't see you running more than it. There was a couple times where I missed it, but 2 is enough.
Fair enough.
Yep. One of Downer, as you mentioned earlier, for Zeus lines. One of Zeus. I am very tempted to bump this up to 2. There are a lot of games where I think running 2 would be really, really nice. Unfortunately, it's just tight extra deck space with the Link package I'm running. One of Anima, they took away our boy Link Karibo. Tough.
Anima's still pretty good.
Yep. One of IP Masquerena, good gold rare.
You like your gold rares. I saw it on the downer, too.
Yeah, it's there. One of Azalea, a bit of a strange choice.
I dig this. I've seen people recommending this in the comments section, right? So this kind of serves your double duty in the same vein as something like Nightmare Phoenix would, your generic spot removal, but without the discard cost. Am I right on this?
Yes, discarding is super, super tough. I don't like discarding rituals. I like tributing them more. That gets you a lot more value. Azalea is just any 2 Drytron names. Gamma, bring back something, pop something that's problematic. It's pretty good. In the grind games, it comes up a lot that you'll have just Drytron names on board because your opponent couldn't finish you off. You link 2 immediately. They think they're fine because SP needs an extra deck monster. You Azalea and you bait something out pretty well. And then if they do Phantom it, then you get to keep the body. You get to keep the link 2.
Fair enough.
Along with that, you run an SP. Pretty standard. SP is just good. One of Dyna. Dyna's Mundo is really good, obviously, for IP and Dad into Dyna on your opponent's turn. It didn't come up as much, unfortunately. There were just a lot of times where I didn't think it was the right move, and SP was a little bit stronger. Or even I think I made Azalea one time on my opponent's turn, but one is good enough, and you need one. One of Access Code. I chose it over Boral because it outs Skill Drain. Never came up. Never came up. Usually, you don't really have much link material because of the Dad. You're using your bodies on field and on hand to supplement that.
And this would be fine. 4K attack max, right?
It's 483, so it's not even like an entirely game ender. But it was fine. I think it outed like a field spell, the Snake Eye field spell one time. That was it.
Fair enough.
So that's that's the extra deck. Onto the side deck, we have Quadrantis. Theory behind Quadrantis is you beat Runic with it. Never came up, did not face Runic Stun, thank God, but you can't target it with Spell Trap. My theory was if you can end on SP Quadrantis, you have a constant Harpies and a way to tag it out if they activate Skill Drain, but didn't ever excite it in because it didn't face it, spell heavy deck.
Fortunately enough, didn't have to deal with it.
Yep. Natasha.
Let me ask you this real quick. With our Natasha here, I know you're main in the triple Ben 10. When you were siding in Natasha, how oftentimes were you using it for your game-ending combo? Or was this primarily a card for time?
It was both a time card, but it's like double duty. It's a time card and a board breaker. There was 2 Yubel players that I played against where I think I sided it down to 1 new 2 to fit in the Natasha. We had about 20 minutes on the clock, and what that did was allowed me to play in my main phase 1 really comfortably. I was just basically at that point playing regular ass Drytron, right? But I didn't have to worry about time because I knew I was going to be up. I didn't need my battle phase, and I would be good. The other really broken part about Natasha is that if you Book of Eclipse their field and you are able to get it to resolve, you now take their monster.
All that crap. You can steal all that crap.
And you can steal all of it. It's really good for outing Yubel because it doesn't leave the field. You can just link off their Yubels. It's super duper nice for that kind of situation as well.
Very good.
Triple Lava Golem. Never summoned it. Never saw it. Bad card. Bad card.
Not a bad card. You're only playing 1 darn normal summon in the main. I think Lava Golem's phenomenal. You just didn't see it. Is what it is.
I also didn't side it in very often, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't work well, I think, against fire. They have a Promethean body. The other thing is it only takes out 2. If you're only taking out 2 from a Yubel board, it's not taking out enough. Personally, I think I'd be running sphere mode here. A little harder to out, a little harder to get the OTK in, but usually if you sphere mode a Yubel board, you're in a much safer position than Lava Golem, where I think you need like 2 up to do anything.
Got it. Fair enough.
In the side, we are running Triple Dark Rule. I don't think you need more than 2, to be honest. I'd consider just cutting the 1 entirely, but I think just having the 3 safety net is good. Really good into Yubel. Just a solid card overall. You can theoretically do a funny play where you Dark Ruler, they Unchain Trap to Desiree, and then you send off Droplet. It didn't come up at all, but something to keep in mind. Also, not a hard once per turn, which is really funny.
Oh yeah, you can slap down a second one if something goes wrong with the first.
And now we get to Double Cosmic. This is for Runic. And
other didn't play against.
I didn't play against, and then it was also just for random stuff. I sided in against Yubel. to avoid cheeky Nightmare Pain wins because Dad is a liability because it's so dang big. But it never really. I think I drew it one time to out a Teekboo against a Snake Eye player, and that was it. That's all the work needed to do, to be honest.
All right, take us home with this last one because I like what I'm seeing here.
This is my tech card of choice, Magical Spring. For the
the uninitiated, explain.
Yeah, for the uninitiated, I'm just going to read off the effect. It's easiest. Draw a number of cards equal to the number of face-up spell trap cards your opponent controls. Then discard a number of cards equal to the number of face-up spell traps you control. So if you have only Magical Springs in the field, you discard one. And then until the end of your opponent's next turn after this card resolves, spell and trap cards you control cannot, your opponent controls cannot be destroyed by a battle or card effect, and their activations and effects can't be negated. So I think every single game that I drew this, in game 3, I won, which was about 3 or 4 times, I think.
Wow. We're talking about a lot of continuous spells and traps up there.
Yeah, and what makes this so powerful is that if you think about the YuGiOh combo full end board, you have Nightmare Throne, Nightmare Pain, Desiree Equip, which is a spell trap, which counts as one.
Yep.
And then maybe they open Spirit Gates, and that's another, that's the 4th one. I only ever got to resolve a draw 3. I know only ever.
Boo-hoo.
But it's just better graceful in that scenario. You draw 3, discard 1, and you're off to the races. And importantly, quick play spell. So you can activate this in draw with no fear of draw, assuming you also open Droplet. Because what's super nice is that you can spring, you can eclipse, and then you can Droplet when they try to negate both of these guys.
Holy, oh my gosh. And even if not, let's just say, for example, you're resolving the spring in the draw phase. Yes, it gets to resolve. They let it resolve, or whatever it may be. They're fearing the board breaker, whatever. Draw into board breakers. It depends. You put them on a very interesting situation when you throw down that card.
Yep, exactly. And that's sort of why I think this card is just, it's really slept on in this format. I think it's going to be good in the next format as well. There's just so much face-up spell traps happening. Against Snake Eye, this is also a draw 3 because they got Field Spell, they got one in back row, assuming IP, and then if they flubbed up the combo, they probably got another back there. So there's a lot of utility here, I think, for Magical Spring. Definitely an underutilized card for sure.
I can just tell how you're describing this, that you have seen some stuff in terms of playing Drytron in the current format, and I can tell how well versed you are with the deck in the current meta. So Angel, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on your excellent performance. And next I want to ask you, is there anything that you see yourself changing about the deck? Anything you thought, this could have been a little better, underperformed? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I have cards to show off. Aggregator.
Oh, wow. Look at this man. He's so prepared.
Yeah, Aggregator, I think, is probably what I would play over the Malong, honestly. There's a lot of boards where maybe they just open up Fiendsmith in like a Snake Eye build, and so they have to just end on the Caesar. This hits the Caesar and also hits maybe the Field Spell as well, because it just negates the effect for the turn. Doesn't pop it, unfortunately, but that's good enough. I've thought about running an Anafactor Pain. This card just beats Tempai. If they don't open up Quick Play, they just don't OTK you and you just win. And then these are my copes. I wish Ruler was good. It's not anymore. It's
too easy to stop and everyone's playing breakers.
This is a Light Fiend in Magic-y, which is funny. It doesn't do anything. I thought it was good. It's not good.
Aww.
I was running the one of Beta. You're a beta if you play it. You're a beta if you play it. I'm sorry.
Oh, shit.
And then Apothis, and then the Rabbit with Meteor Aurora. It gets you in a gate, but the Magic-y engine is just better. Just run the Magic-y stuff.
My man, my man. All right, so I appreciate you coming prepared with all these alternative options as well. Holy smokes. Now, to bring us to a close, would you mind telling us, and you don't have to remember them all, but what your matchups were looking like? You mentioned 6-2. And I want you to conclude by telling me, what was the thing that robbed you from that top?
Oh, yeah. So, just to go through the matchups first, round 1 was kind of a bye. I faced Sky Striker. It was Sky Striker. We easily beat that. The only funny thing that happened was that I magically uncalling on an N-Gage, calling water, so I think they couldn't Shizuku because all their shit was water.
Nice.
Second game was Snake Eye Pure. We had a 35-minute game 1 where I lost the die roll, and then he drolled me as I tried to do combo, to which I Fuko'd, passed, and we just grinded it out. because I don't think he was expecting Fuko. I think if he was expecting it, he would have stopped me from establishing it. But after that, we grinded it out. I did many dad for game, and then unfortunately in game 2, he just bricked on all of the floodgates. He had Teekaboo, Skill Drain, and then a bunch of other random junk that he couldn't use. So that was unfortunate.
This was a pure Snake Eye build?
Not really pure. He was on Snake Eye with, I think, a cache engine, but he just didn't see it or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't insane. Ritual Beast, I had a time loss to Cowboy, but I think I got shifted anyway, so it didn't really matter. This is the matchup that I was least confident about going in. I thought about running triple Lancy on the side just to beat it, but I didn't think the extra deck space or side deck space was worth it.
I also noticed no Lancia either, but you are doing the triple Benton. Do you think that's something you may consider, maybe even just putting in the one?
I think for sure I'm running one of. I think I'm for sure running a one of in the side at some point.
Gotcha.
And then I faced in round 4 a Snake Eye Fiendsmith Rescue Ace pile.
Holy.
I won the die roll here, but I flubbed it up because when I saw Wanted into Rhoda, I was thinking Infernoble because he had a 60 card pile or something. Misread it. It was Rescue Ace. Did not play correctly because I held I had no opportunity to activate unlocking and get him locked, and it just went downhill from there. YuGiOh, this is the first YuGiOh player who I think was pretty nervous. He won the die roll, but I got him on the back-to-back with Ultimate Slayer Natasha lines in time. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway. I mean, he was on 0 resources, so the time win again. Natasha's really nice because I'm never nervous being stuck in main phase 1, and that's what matters. Just being able to be calm, cool, and collected on it. Round 6 was the White Forest opponent. It was a 2-0 sweep because I think I won die roll here, and then game 2, Ultimate Slayer was just absolutely broken, and then Fafnir Effect was just putting in work.
Yeah, you mentioned that. The bonus effect, everybody. Don't sleep on that bonus effect.
Yep. Round 7 was another YuGiOh, and this is the player I thought was really competent. I only faced 3 YuGiOh. So my bad about that. I lied. But I lost die roll here, and I got him on the crackback with probably the most broken game 3 hand I've ever seen. I opened a Alti Slayer, Book of Eclipse, I think full combo, and Magical Springs did resolve for 3. And he just couldn't play through that, which was super unfortunate. But I did end up getting that one based on that hand. I think that was a little bit sacky, not gonna lie.
Now, sucks to be him. Hey, man, you get rewarded as the Drytron duelist.
Yep. And then round 8 was against YuGiOh. I won the die roll here, thankfully. In game 2, I almost was able to get the 2-0, but his last card in hand was DD Crow on Alpha Pitch Ben 10. So I did not get it like that. That really hurts
nowadays because you can't really bridge out of that.
Yeah, so that was pretty tough, but he was a good opponent overall, though. I think the deck was really well positioned for pre-Rota format. I also got pretty lucky with my matchups. As you can see, I had a lot of thought into facing YuGiOh and Snake Eye specifically, and I was pretty rewarded when I actually faced them. So that was really, really nice, and I'm pretty happy about the result.
I would be as well, but you got to tell us what happened. What robbed you from that top 8 finish? What was the situation?
Yeah, so against the Ritual Beast player, and no disrespect to him at all, he was super nice guy. But his cards were entirely warped. The way he held them was like this, so there was just noticeable warping on literally all of his cards. I called Judge to check out the situation. The Judge gave him a warning, telling him, he had to re-sleeve and fix it up. He did not end up having the ability to do that, so we ended up just playing out the game because the Judge said, just play out the game. So we did, but what had happened was in the next 2 rounds, he got game lost, and I think he got DQ'd because the cards were just really, really bad, and both of his other opponents also called him out on it. If it wasn't for that, I think we could have had it. Not that I want to, scum wins like that, but I do value people playing cards that don't look, stacked. Again,
yeah, of course, it's suspicious. You go up against an opponent and you see something like that, and it's going to hurt your trust in the opponent. So I think you were right to make that call, and it's a darn shame that nothing was done about it sooner. But also, I mean, you know, these things do take time. Like you said, it took 2 other opponents subsequently calling him out for him to get the DQ. But regardless, you know, he said he was a nice guy. It's a lesson learned on all fronts. And I don't think it takes anything away from the excellent job that you did playing out through this entire tournament, my friend.
Well, thank you very much.
6-2 is no joke. This was a big event, and I think you performed astronomically well with a very strong, pure build. Any final thoughts or feedback that you want to share with the Drytron community right now? Let them know what you think about it.
Yeah, I did run into some other Drytron players who I saw were on Nibiru Imperm stuff and hand traps. I don't think that's the direction of the deck. Nibiru Imperm isn't going to do it. It doesn't cut it anymore. YuGiOh cuts through that like Swiss cheese. It's not even funny. I truly do think that this is the way to play the deck in this little format, and I think this is probably the way that I'm going to play going forward. Maybe adding the Charmies, experimenting with that next format, but for now I'm very satisfied with this list.
Excellent. Angel, my friend, I thank you so much for taking the time for this interview and for coming on the channel, and I congratulate you once again on your excellent performance. We will see you at Nationals next year, hopefully playing the best deck of all time.
Yep. Thank you so much, Logan, for having me on.
Of course, brother. And everybody, that brings us to a close. Logan JYA, sign off a great day, and we'll see you beautiful people later. Peace.